Welcome back to Deep Marketing. This is the podcast where, just like I believe that talking about sex makes you have a better sex life, and talking about what goes on behind the scenes in the bedroom makes you enjoy your life more behind in the bedroom, I believe the same thing needs to happen with money and launching and marketing in our businesses. So we need to be talking more openly about money, not just in proclaiming big, exciting money wins or talking about growth or the things that you usually see in people's marketing, because that's what makes people buy. But we also need to be talking more honestly about what goes on behind the scenes in terms of how to make that money, how people actually make that money. Those kinds of launches, right? I've been behind the scenes. I've helped a lot of people make really big amounts of money. Entrepreneurs making multiple six figures in a launch. That's like 500,000, 300,000, $800,000 in the span of about a week with the launch. So what I am so passionate about doing, and that's what I'm doing in this podcast, is opening the door to the bedroom, so to speak, and actually showing you what goes into these things, and really talking honestly about money and launching and marketing and what goes into marketing to be able to have these kinds of successful launches, because that's what I want for you. I want you to be able to have these. I want you to invest wisely in your programs that you learn, in your coaches that you hire, in your strategies that you invest your time and energy into. I want your business to be successful. And in order to do that, you have to know what to expect behind the scenes. You have to know what you can anticipate and what's going to actually help you grow and help you make the money that you need to live this abundant, prosperous, culture-changing life that you want to live. Right? So today, what I want to do is talk to you about the formula that I used to 5x my launch results in the span of 8 months. So this is huge. So many businesses will stay at the same level for years and years and years before they catapult, or some of them don't even, right? And so what I want to talk about is how this ended up being possible and what I actually did in these launches. I'm going to break down the numbers, break down the strategies for you, and actually tell you what went into the formula and the process of me being able to do this so that you can do it too. And of course, this is not something that you're just going to replicate word for word. This is something that you have to adapt and make it your own so that it fits you and your business. But we're going to go into what are actually the most essential pieces that you should make non-negotiable in your launch, and what are the variables that you can play with and experiment with, and how those are going to overall increase your launch results exponentially over time. And when I say over time, this is in less than a year, so it's really not that much time in the big picture of things. So just to give you a little bit of a background, this whole endeavor started when I radically pivoted my business. I basically burned everything to the ground. I had built up this done for you launch copywriting business, and I really worked my ass off to build up this business. It did not come easily for me in the beginning. I did not have those kinds of instant results. I even invested in a coach. I paid, $8,000 for this mastermind with money that I didn't have, hoping for those kinds of results where it's like, I made my money back in such a short amount of time. And I didn't even make my money back during that time in that mastermind that I was in. And I just had one of those stories where it would feel like momentum was picking up. I'd get booked and I'd have a bunch of clients, and then they'd all go down. And it was this whole journey. It was really a lot of work for me to finally find my way of getting my business up to consistent $5,000 to $9,000 a month. And what's crazy is I got there and I was fully booked. I had this wait list. I was in-demand copywriter. People were loving my copy. They were getting amazing results. I was making good money. I was traveling like every month with all this money that I was making. I was like, buying presents for my family and up leveling my life and all of this stuff. But I realized I did not like this business. I didn't like writing copy for other people all the time. I like writing copy now for myself. I love writing it for my own business. I occasionally write it for other people who are just like super aligned with me and super easy and fun for me to work with. But for the most part, I really just didn't want to do that. And I also wanted to incorporate my spirituality. I wanted to incorporate the mindset, the ways that I can help people with their mindset. I wanted to incorporate all the energy work that I do into my business and actually help people do that for themselves too. I'm a teacher. That was my education. Coaching it just comes like as a natural flow to me. And that's what I realized I wanted to do. And I had this huge, I'm sure you can identify with this if you've ever pivoted your business like this. I had this huge conflict going on, this huge battle inside myself of like, but I want to do this because I can feel that it's what I want. I can feel that it's what my soul is calling me to do. And yet at the same time, what do I do with this business that I've worked so hard to build up? You know, what's going to happen? And finally, I ended up realizing you've got to go for what your soul is calling you to do. You've got to go for your desires. You've got to go all in, right? Somebody was asking me at a digital nomad festival recently. He was much younger and he was like, what would you advise somebody who's like younger and just getting started? Not that I'm that old, by the way, I'm only 32. But I was like, I would advise you to just go all in and take a chance on the things you want. You know, I did waste time in my early 20s. You know, I didn't get the college degree that I wanted. I wanted to be a writer and I went for education because I wanted that like solid job, you know. And there were just so many things that I really wanted to do and really wanted to go all in on, but I played it safe. I took the safer route, like, oh, this is guaranteed a job, or, you know, whatever. That was exactly what was happening with the copywriting thing. Is it was like, well, I finally have all these clients and I have this consistent income and I have a reputation and I have a brand around this. It's like, are you going to go with the safer option, or are you going to just take life and do what you want with it and follow what you really want to do? Are you going to follow what makes you happy, what you really desire? And so I decided to go for it. And in the spirit of manifestation, right, I had two options. I could either burn it all down, which is what I wanted to do, and just say, hey, I don't want to write your copy anymore. Sorry. And let my clients go, finish out the contracts. Or I could take it the safer way and have those clients and just on the side, build my business a little bit at a time and like slowly over time, replace that income and move slowly over to the coaching business. But I didn't want to. And in order to manifest what we desire, it really is ideal for us to be acting as if the thing that we really want is already happening, right? Because that's how energy turns into matter, when we make it into matter, when we take something that's intangible and abstract and we bring it into our body, into our beliefs, into our speech, into our language, into our like frequency with which we're putting something out into the world. That's how something manifests. That's the real meaning of the word manifesting. It comes into matter. And so when we act as if something is already happening, we are getting our body on board. We're getting our mind on board. We're getting our language on board. We're getting our frequency on board, so that the matter that we want to manifest in is attracted to us and comes into our frequency and blends with it, and it actually becomes a reality. So this is what I decided to do, right? I didn't have a bunch of money in savings. I decided to use my credit card. Like I just went all in. So I let go of my clients. I invested in a high level mastermind because I was like, I don't want to do this alone. Sure, I could, but I know I'm going to need support. This is not the easiest journey to go on. So I hired a coach, like a high level investment for support. I did use my credit card for that. Many of you know that story already. I'm not going to go so deep into it. And I went ahead and launched my first program, Deep Marketing. Coincidentally, that's how the name of the podcast came about. But this program was so important to me because it was downloaded in an incredibly important period of time. This is right after my dad had died. I was in this whole identity mode. I had just come back from this really powerful transformational retreat in Finland. My spiritual guides were like on fire, right? I was getting all these insights, all these downloads. I was in the forest in Transylvania. I was connecting with nature. I was connecting with like my soul and all these different things. And I downloaded the idea for this program, Deep Marketing. And it just matched so perfectly with what I was desiring, bringing that energy work, bringing that deep inner work, bringing that mindset work together with marketing and strategy and all these other things that I had built up so much experience and skill in being able to do. And it was like, this is perfect. And I launched it and one person joined. And I'm not going to lie, that was a huge bummer. That was really a challenge for me because I promoted this program. I gave it my all, 100%. There was no wavering. I showed up from the beginning of the launch to the very last day of the launch. And I showed up as just my 100% best self, believing and like manifesting all those people. And it was one person. And of course I had to come to the point where I was okay with that, right? And I made the decision, like, no, I'm not going to cancel this program because there's one person. I'm going to show up for this one person in this program and really give it my 100%. I'm really going to give it all. And that ended up really paying off, not just for my own personal, being my best self and growing my resilience and becoming a stronger person and more of a match for what I really wanted to attract into my business. But it also helped me in revenue because I was able to take a lot of the recordings from that course and I was able to sell them separately as passive programs. Some of them, maybe you have taken things like Tentacles, my lead generation course coming out, my brand identity course. These are some staples of my business at this point that a lot of people buy passively, which has made me passive revenue since then. But people also bought, ended up selling Deep Marketing and the recordings passively later on. And people bought that. And I forget the exact numbers, but that ended up being something like 30% of my revenue last year. In total over the course of the year. And so just as a note to those of you who consider wavering and consider not showing up for programs because you didn't get the result you wanted, or consider canceling launches because they're not going as well as you want to, it's just a reminder, show up, be your best self. And even when you're disappointed and even when it's really hard and you have this sort of battle going on inside yourself of your ego being bruised or disappointment or whatever, it's going to pay off for you. It always pays off for you to make the decision to be your best self. So anyway, that launch, it was $1,000 program. But I made $1,500. Why? Because of my secret offer strategy. This is something I teach in the Art of Selling Secret Offers. If you've done that masterclass, that workshop, but this is where you sell more spots behind the scenes, right? So not only did I made the one sale for the program, but there were also other sales that happened behind the scenes because of my secret offer strategy. This is one of the things that I'm going to let you know towards the end of this episode about what are some of the non-negotiables that you want to keep in your launches and what are some of the variables that you want to play with. One of them, the secret offer strategy. You absolutely want to have this, especially if you're a solo entrepreneur and it takes a lot of your resources to launch, right? If you're, spending a lot of time, or if you're putting money into something, or you're making a brand new program and you're writing all new copy and things like that, you want to conserve your resources. You want to make the most out of what you're putting out there. So the secret offer strategy is a non-negotiable. We're going to go into that later. That was my first launch of the year. That was in January. That program lasted 2 months. And during that time, I was just I continued to promote the program, and I was promoting my one-on-one coaching. And then in April, it was my birthday, the very beginning of April, April 3rd. And birthdays are a great vortex for a new start, right? And bringing in that magic of new beginnings and growth and calling in what you want for the next year. And I decided to run a flash sale on one of my courses that I had previously made in the past. And it had gotten amazing results and people really loved it. And I decided I'm going to run a flash sale and I'm going to launch this course. And 8 sales came in for that. So that was, of course, it wasn't that much money. I think it ended up being about $500 because it was quite low ticket and so on and so forth. But at that point, that was not about the money. That was about bringing back my confidence, bringing back my enthusiasm, like just basically going, okay, let's get back into launching. Let's have fun with launching. We love launching, like, right? I'm talking to myself here. And it was a huge confidence booster. It was a huge momentum builder, because here's the thing, I was already confident, but I had to remind myself that, yes, I know how to sell. Yes, I know how to launch. I know what I'm doing here. And it just it brought that physical, right, manifestation in of what I had been reiterating to myself and reassuring to myself and doing the inner work on that. And then that physical reality came, and it's like, okay, 8 sales, great. Like, I'm good to go now. I'm ready for the rest of the year. Let's bring it on. So after that, that was beginning of April. In May, I think it was May, I was like, okay, what other passive things do I have? Because I had built up some other, offers and things that I had run, masterclasses, courses, and things the year before, even in my copywriting business. And I was like, I have this, email course, which I created, and it's a really good, high quality course. It really breaks down like everything. I rewatched the modules. This is so good. And my sales page course that I had already created. So I said, let me make a bundle and let me just put those together and make it a great, no-brainer offer for everybody. And I'm going to launch this. So I launched that course, and 4 people bought it, and they were really happy about it, right? Like, very positive testimonials. So, okay, again, like, here's another launch. People bought my courses. This is great. And then I got the idea to get creative with my one-on-one offer, because at the time it wasn't selling as quickly as I would like. I think it had only made 1 or 2 sales or something like that. And so I really wanted more one-on-one clients, but they weren't just buying. They needed something smaller. They needed a taste of my work. They needed an opportunity to build that trust with me, to have a smaller bit of a commitment with me in order to be able to invest, $6,000 in working with me. So I got creative. I did this one-on-one Voxer week of coaching. Maybe some of you listening to this even bought it. It's called Supercharge Your Content. And I went out and I did that launch, and that one really was a hit. 10 people ended up buying this. So it was so fun because over the course of the next month, I was coaching 10 new clients all of a sudden, which was, it was a lot, but it was also incredibly exciting because it was like, this is what I've been wanting all year so far. It was like the middle of the year. And what was so fun about that is I finished up the launch while I was in France with my niece. I treated her to a trip for her high school graduation to France because she'd been learning, French all through high school. And that was just, it's always been a dream of mine to take my nieces and nephews traveling and let them see the world. My brothers and sisters, they don't travel much. And so I just wanted to give those kids a chance a chance to see like my life and something that's really important to me, and let them experience some new things in the world. And so that was a big manifestation come to reality as well, being with my niece in France, an all expenses paid trip by me for her as a present. And about half of the sales from that launch came in while I was in France, and it's just a testament to how easy launching can be when you let it be simple and when you let it be easy. I go over this in my class, Launch with Ease. If you don't have that yet, you're going to want to make sure you get it. But being able to go out and live your life, right? Do the things that you dream of doing. I wanted to create these memories with my niece. It was really important to me to be able to bring her traveling with me and for us to have that experience together, just to like send her off, into college, into the world as an adult with this experience of seeing what the world is like out there and seeing things that are different than she has always known growing up in her small town in Oregon, USA. And at the same time, being able to make 5 sales and have a big launch. And I think I wrote down the number of that. Let me check my notes here just to keep in the theme of how much this was. So that launch ended up being 2,570 plus upgrades ended up being about 3,000. So we're now up from a $1,500 launch to a $3,000 launch. So results are doubled. And let's move on to the next one to continue just going through and checking out this formula of how this 5X happened. So the next launch was that August, and I launched my mastermind. And that mastermind was of course, the highest ticket thing that I launched up to that point. It was, well, there were some varying price points because there were some that were cheaper in the pre-sale and then some that got to be more once the price raised a bit. But then that launch came, and that ended up being, checking my numbers here, it ended up being 6,000 with the regular price, and then with upgrades with the secret offer strategy ended up getting to $8,000. So there we go. 5X results within 8 months. And this is something that is so important for me to share with you all, because most entrepreneurs, business owners, coaches, healers, whatever you call yourself, if you're selling something online, most people will not stick with the game for this long. 8 months is not a long time when you look at it in a big picture. And it's not a long time if you could just know right now. You could be like, well, in 8 months, I'm going to make 5 times more than I make now. It'd be a lot easier to stick with it, but we don't get to know that ahead of time, right? We don't get to know. I could have been stuck at $1,000 launches for years. Who knows? We can't predict the future. We don't know. And yet, because of the principles of manifestation that I believe so much in acting as if the results are already happening in order to call them into my reality, because of the very strong inner mindset work that I did and do and continue to do, that allow me to continue to show up as my best self and continue to believe in myself and have that self-validation and all of that. It's like that resilience is so important and so key. That energetic piece on top of the strategy it's a non-negotiable. Having a strong energetic foundation, a strong mindset foundation should be your main non-negotiable piece in your launch and business strategy. It's absolutely something you have to work on. In my program, Multiply, we do talk about that. We talk about the energetics of a successful launch, and not just a successful launch, but a business that exponentially grows your launch results over time. So that's the first piece, is that most people will give up. Most people will say, well, that strategy didn't work, and they'll scrap it, and they'll start all over again with something new, and they'll hire a new coach, and they'll buy a new course, and they'll try all these different things, and they're just constantly starting and stopping and starting and stopping. Or they will have such low amount of emotional resilience that if a launch goes poorly, they will fall into an exhaustion and be burnt out and not show up in their business for months after that. And then continue to be in stopping and starting mode, because then once they get the motivation again and they come and they show up, it just repeats the same unhelpful pattern over and over again, and they don't improve the results. Or they would just say, well, then launching isn't for me then in that case. And they'll just continue to do their DM sales or whatever it is that they're doing, like to grow their business, that they don't really like, instead of going all in on their desire, right? If you have this desire to be able to launch programs, to launch offers, to have those kinds of scalable income that comes into your business, where you can be making passive sales and group programs where you're not, right, exchanging so much of your hourly time for money. If that's what you desire and that's what you want, you've got to go all in on it. You can't just try it one time and then give up. Anyway, that's the aspect of the strategy that's non-negotiable. There are a couple other aspects of the strategy. So one that I just barely touched on is my strategy stayed relatively the same throughout all those launches. So one of the things that helped is that I had a lot of experience in launching prior to this. I launched for a lot of different business owners. I had a lot of different strategies up my sleeve and in my mind, but I had not only seen them work from a distance, right? You can see a coach you admire doing something and go, well, it's working for them, maybe it'll work for me. But I had actually done those launches and been a part of them and seen the behind the scenes and known, what it really takes to implement them and what the results should look like. I knew what, like conversion rate percentages should look like and that kind of thing. Excuse me. So that also increased my confidence and my ability to go, I know this strategy is going to work. I know how to do this. And so I was able to keep going. And I will tell you what the basic elements of this strategy was. The basic elements were: introduce people into, one, a taste of working with you, and two, like your energetic vortex. So that happens with a free or low ticket event, typically beforehand, something live. It was always live in my case, because live allows people to be a part of that energy, to like be with me face to face, not just getting value, getting education, but actually getting me, getting to know me, getting to be with me, getting to experience what it's like to be on a call with me, getting to ask their questions, having me answer them, us getting to know each other. I do that on my live events. I am talking to the people there. I'm asking people to introduce themselves. I want to know what their businesses are. I want to know why they're here. I want to know what they want to learn. I want to know what their questions are. And so I'm getting to know people and talking to them in those live events, because connection is super important to me. It's a very strong value of mine. And people buy when they're connected to you. They don't just buy because they're like, oh, that's a good tip. That's something I want to learn. Let me learn it. If they were doing that, they could just go on like Udemy and buy something cheaper. They could go on, right? They could go buy somebody's passive course, whatever, but why would they want to choose me? Why would they choose me, somebody who's not like a famous Amy Porterfield, Marie Forleo, whoever all these people are? Like, why wouldn't they just go buy something from them who have thousands and thousands of testimonials? Why would they choose me? Because they showed up live and they got to know me and I got to know them and they got to see that I care about them and they got to ask me questions and they got to hear how I offer a different perspective than most people do. That is why most people tell me that they hire me to this day, is they are always telling me there was something that really stopped me in my tracks about the way you talk about marketing, the way that you explain things, the perspective that you have on things, the way you create content, the way you express yourself online, the way you show up, the way your energy is. That's why they buy from me, because I show them how I'm different. So anyway, that entry-level live event, introducing people, getting them into the energy, building up the momentum and excitement, and then launching the bigger program. And by a bigger program, that varied, right? It started out with a $1,000 program. Then it was, I think, like a $50 course. And then it was a $133 course. And then it was a $200 course or program. And then it was like a, what was it? Something like a $2,000 or $3,000 program after that. So those numbers really varied, but that structure stayed the same. Another thing that varied was I played with having those opening offers being free or low ticket. So I played with those. Sometimes I played with doing one. Sometimes I played with doing two. I played with the timing of the launches. Sometimes I did the launch at a couple weeks, a few days. Sometimes I played with doing it for a whole month. So those were the timing were also things that I played with. The pricing were things that I played with. The free to paid ratio were things that I played with. Yeah, I played with offering additional bonuses and having them expire. So we can do things like, you can do discounts, you can do early bird pricing, you can do bonuses. I played with those too. I incorporated those into my strategies, and I went with the flow, went with my inspiration, went with things I wanted to try, things I was curious about. That was another thing I played with. A non-negotiable was always selling behind the scenes, which is what I teach in the Art of Selling Secret Offers. If you haven't done that yet, it's a complete must do for every entrepreneur. It's just $97. So if you want it, let me know. Selling behind the scenes, like I said, it conserves your resources. It gets you more money for what you're doing. This is actually the launch after that, right? In September, I launched again. I launched my program, Multiply, right? Because after I just 5X'd my launch results in 8 months, of course, I want to teach other people how to do that. This was my second round of this program, and I was really excited to teach that. This strategy played out like it could not be a better testimonial for this strategy, because that launch would have been only $3,000. But because of my Art of Selling Secret Offer strategy, it ended up being a $16,500 launch. So we're not just talking about like an extra 10%. We're not talking about an extra couple $100 here and there. Sometimes it is, yeah, if you have a really low ticket offer, but we're talking, actually, I said I 5X'd my results in 8 months, but I actually 16X'd my results in 9 months. Or 10, it may have been 10 months. But things really did take off exponentially with my business at that point. I went on to have 10K a month in cash, making consistent 7 months for the last, for quite a while now, averaging, sometimes more, sometimes less. And of course, being able to leave and go and travel and all of this. And it's like, this is what the long-term results look like in your business when you stick with a strategy that you know works and you continue to tweak and improve that strategy over time. Everybody asks me the question, well, how do I know with all those variables, right? Those things that you play with, how do you know if something worked? How do you know if it didn't? How do you know if it didn't work and you should still trust it and go for it again? How should you know if you should scrap something and try something else? When's the time to change gears and pivot and know that something's not working and try it again? I do go over that in Multiply as well. We have one module on how to analyze your launch, how to analyze your copy, how to analyze your statistics, how to audit your energy even. Because the other thing is we want your launches to get easier and easier for you as time goes by. That's the goal. We don't want them to get more complicated. We don't want to add more bells and whistles, more strategic things. We don't want to, constantly have to be adding more team if that's not what you want to do. We want them to keep getting simpler for you, to keep getting easier, to keep getting more fun. And we do that by auditing the energy. We do that by auditing what actually worked well for you in terms of how you felt and how you enjoyed it and that kind of thing. So we blend that with the strategic piece as well. That happens in Multiply. So in here, I've mentioned a lot of different, I've listed you some non-negotiables to include in every launch. Those include strategic things. Those include mindset and energy things. I've listed some variables that you can play with. I've peppered in letting you know about some different trainings that you can take. So the thing with my program Multiply is it is my full program on launching. It's where I teach you not just the copy, but also how these different strategies all work together so that you can mix and match and you can decide what works the best for you, because it's not about you copying my strategy. It's not about you saying, okay, so I want Mia to list out everything she did in every launch and I'm going to do exactly the same thing, because each person is different. Each person has a different energetic capacity, right? If you're into human design, some people are projectors, some people are generators. If you're into astrology, right, there are some people who are like those quote unquote lazy Taurus. There are some people who are like Aries, who are more go-getter and love to be in action all the time. There's people who are moms who have very limited amount of spare time. You have small kids, you have school runs to do and sports games to go to. There are people who are traveling full time like I am now. At the moment, I'm only working a few days a week, and the other days I'm out like exploring and driving and hiking and camping and all of this stuff. There are people with all different kinds of schedules and energetic capacities and preferences and personalities and ways that you like showing up and things you enjoy doing and ways you like to create and ways you like to express yourself and make content. It's all different. So the way that I teach these strategies in Multiply are you get to mix and match, and then I give you the tools to go back and analyze and tweak and make adjustments and shift things and make your copy work for you and express yourself in the way that is the most effective way for you to express yourself to the people who are the right fit to work with you. You can also mix and match some of the trainings in here. There are about 4 different ones of the trainings out of, I think, 13 or 14 that you can buy on their own. So if you're not ready to invest in the full program right now, there are some of the trainings that you can buy on their own, and you can learn really important lessons from those. It's not just about getting a taste of work with me. It's about actually getting solid strategies and really learning things and being able to take them and apply them and see results with them and see changes. And whatever you may have bought that is a part of Multiply, you get to cash in and get that subtracted from your investment when you are ready to go all in on the Multiply program. So right now, you can buy the trainings and modules and everything, the worksheets, the resources and everything. You can buy all of that passively, go through the coursework yourself, and then you can get free access to join us for the next live version of the program. And that's going to happen this fall. I have big plans for this. the way that I launch continues to evolve and continues to get better and better and better and more profitable and more fun all the time. So I have a lot of really exciting things we're going to be adding to this program, a lot of elements to be getting support with me, all of that stuff. So you can get the program now. I have it on a super extended payment plan. You can get started for just $222 a month for now. And then, like I said, you get access to the full next version of the live program. So it's like you're getting 2 programs for the price of 1. It's amazing. I mean, if you want to launch things in your business, or if you already do, if you plan to continue to grow those results over time, if you are committed to sticking with the process and going all in on that dream that you have, on that passive income, leading those groups of people. I know a lot of you are so passionate about the work that you do, and you're like, people get amazing results. I love the programs. I love my clients. I just wish more people could experience this. I just wish more lives could be changed by this. That you should be in multiply. You should be doing multiply, because this is something that you're going to use as a long-term investment that's going to help your business long-term with the longevity and the scalability to see real exponential results from this. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I really enjoyed pulling back the curtain, breaking apart the pieces, sharing these numbers with you. It's so funny because when I shared them originally last fall, I had a bit of a freak out moment. I was like, I just told people that I only made 1 sale in one of my launches, and I am selling a launch program. Like, I just gave people the numbers that I am making in my business. I gave them like the stats of my business. I was so honest and so transparent. And I had a little bit of a vulnerability hangover at the end. I was like, now nobody's going to want to buy from me because they just heard all this. But people went crazy for it. And they were like, thank you so much for sharing the truth about this and showing us what it's really like and being transparent, and this approach to growth that's not about it's not about 10xing results overnight. It's not about burning yourself out. It's not about making like false financial claims that so many marketers do, or so many business coaches, just to make sales. Like, they really appreciated it. And not only did people buy the program, not only did it turn into a 16.5K sales month, but a lot of those people who were part of that launch ended up purchasing from me. You know, they've been purchasing from me ever since. They've been investing in offers. They've been buying more things. They've been coming back for more. They're like seeing me as the mentor that they want to work with, because it's just so important to be honest, to be transparent, to really talk about numbers, to really talk about money, to really talk about launching, to really talk about business, and to be honest about it, and to look at it from an approach of how do we really manifest what it is that we want, and how do we keep those results long-term so that they're sustainable, so that they last, so that we don't participate in the current like marketing culture that's all about quick wins and instant gratification and fudging things and making up results and all this stuff. We're being honest, we're being transparent, we're contributing to a more ethical way to do business and conduct our launches and make money and be prosperous, and really not just change the culture in terms of the coaching and healing work and stuff that you do that helps people, but also healing the industry so that marketing and business don't have to be so toxic. They can actually be a really healing and wonderful space where people can go out and take up space and sell and buy and be in community and support each other, and really be able to like take matters into their own hands and not be such like victims of the capitalist system and doing what the people in power who have money, what they say you do, because you get to take it into your own hands, make your own money, and you get to be in power. Then you get to play at the top of the game. This is why it's so important. Thank you for listening. Let me know in the comments if you liked this video or what your takeaways are. do please share this if it spoke to you and you really liked it, because that makes a really big difference for me, and getting this in front of more people and just making a bigger difference.